All right, ready for a deep dive.
Always. Let's do it.
Today, we're tunneling into the world of Anglo-American,
A mining giant, huh?
the one and only. And you've given us a mountain of material to dig through. Financial reports, presentations, even some whispers about their overall strategy.
Sounds like someone wants to know if they can really pull this off.
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? And I gotta admit, after getting a sneak peek at all this, I'm hooked.
It's a fascinating time for them, that's for sure. The scale of what they're trying to do, it's pretty impressive.
Okay, so let's break it down. The headline here is a massive shift. They're moving away from coal and going all in on metals for a greener future, especially copper.
Wow. It's almost like they're trading in their pickaxes for solar panels.
Right. And that's what makes this so intriguing. This is a company rooted in traditional mining. We're talking about a complete reinvention.
And that's not easy, not even remotely. This isn't just about swapping one commodity for another. This transformation, it demands a complete overhaul, operational efficiency, streamlining their portfolio, and maybe the biggest challenge of all, convincing investors that this time it's different.
That's a good point. Because they mentioned feeling a bit undervalued by the market. It's like Wall Street isn't quite sold on the makeover just yet.
Yeah, and you can understand why, right? There's a certain skepticism that comes with a company trying to shed its old skin. By simplifying their portfolio, focusing on future-facing metals like copper, they're hoping to make their story a little easier to digest.
So streamline the message, boost that valuation, and ride the green wave. Sounds good on paper, but they're putting a lot of faith in copper, aren't they? I mean, some of their production projections are, well, massive.
It's a calculated risk for sure. The demand for copper is only going up. Electric vehicles, renewable energy, the world needs more copper. But that doesn't guarantee a win. It's a high-stakes game with no guaranteed winner. Their success, it hinges on factors they can't control. The global economy, tech advancements, even geopolitics. All that can impact copper's price and demand.
Which brings up a really interesting question for you, the listener. How much faith would you put in a company trying to reinvent itself? Is Anglo-American's shift genuine? Or is this just clever marketing to appeal to a changing world? We'll dig into the potential pitfalls and whether their actions really match their words right after this. Okay, so we've talked about Anglo-American going green, but let's be honest, even the best laid plans, right? And the material you dug up, it definitely points out some speed bumps along the way.
Yeah, that's the thing about these massive transformations. They rarely go exactly according to plan. And one challenge that stood out to me was that fire at their Grosvenor coal mine, the one in Australia.
Oh yeah, right. Hard to talk about a green revolution with a coal mine fire in the headlines. And if I'm remembering this correctly, this wasn't the first incident at that particular mine, was it?
Sadly, no. There was a previous incident at Grosvenor. Not that long ago, actually. Makes this recent fire even more, well, significant. Brings up questions about their safety protocols and adds another layer of complexity to their whole plan of getting rid of their coal assets.
It's true. And, even if they weren't dealing with that PR nightmare, selling off those coal assets, it's not as simple as it sounds, is it? The stuff we looked at, it hinted that it's a lot more complicated than just finding a buyer.
You hit the nail on the head. The market for coal, it's delicate. The world's moving towards cleaner energy, so coal's not exactly the hottest investment these days. Buyers are pickier, especially with these recent safety concerns. Anglo-American might have to settle for a lower price than they'd like, which could affect how much they can invest in copper production.
Talk about stuck between a rock and a hard place. And let's not forget their other big moneymaker that's facing some challenges, diamonds. They've got De Beers.
Yeah.
And if I'm reading this right, the diamond market isn't exactly sparkling the way it used to.
You're catching on quickly.
Yeah, the report showed De Beers is dealing with a few hurdles. It's a perfect storm, really. A global economic slowdown, which always hits luxury spending first, the whole lab-grown diamond thing shaking up the market, and maybe the biggest factor, well, consumer tastes are changing. Younger generations aren't as into mined diamonds. It's amazing how those lab-grown diamonds have changed the game. It really shows how things outside Anglo-American's control, these external forces, can make or break even the smartest plans.
Totally agree. And this brings up another point from the materials that I thought was really important. How long it takes to get new mining projects up and running. The Kalahwasi expansion, for example. The timeline, it's mind-boggling. Years of environmental studies, getting the community on board, jumping through regulatory hoops.
Wait, years? Seriously?
Yeah.
I had no clue it took that long. I mean, I knew it was a huge process, but years? That's crazy.
Yeah, it's something that surprises a lot of folks. Securing the money, that's just the first step. Mega projects like that, they've got a ton of regulations to deal with, which makes sense. The environmental and social impact of these projects, it's huge. You've got indigenous land rights, concerns about the environment, water usage, the list goes on. And everyone deserves a seat at the table. But
Yeah.
yeah, all that adds time and complexity.
It's really incredible when you think about it. All the moving parts, the sheer size of what Anglo-Americans trying to pull off. This isn't just about digging up different metals, is it?
Nope. It's way bigger than that. They're trying to like rewrite their whole story. And they're doing it while the whole world's grappling with climate change and whether we're going to run out of resources.
Talk about pressure.
Hmm.
So we've got this company betting big on a greener future. Copper is their ticket to the main event, but they've got some serious roadblocks in their way. That shaky coal market, diamonds losing their shine, and those new projects, they take forever to get off the ground.
It all adds up to a make-or-break moment for Anglo-American. The next few years will tell the tale.
No pressure, right?
None at all. Can they ditch the coal and ramp up the copper? Can they roll with the punches in the diamond market? And can they get these massive projects, actually started? We're talking million-dollar questions here. And honestly, I don't think anyone has the answers.
Makes you sweat a little, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But let's zoom out for a second. If Anglo-American actually does this, if they pull it off, what does it mean for mining in general, for the whole industry?
Now that's the real question, isn't it? If Anglo-American, a company that practically screams old-school mining, can reinvent themselves as, like, the poster child for sustainability, it could change everything. Other mining giants, they'd have to sit up and take notice. Might force them to rethink their own game plans. We could see a seismic shift towards more responsible mining.
Now that's a thought, isn't it? Mining that's actually good for the planet. So for those of you listening, hopefully this deep dive has given you a peek behind the curtain, not just to Anglo-American, but at what happens when entire industries have to face the music. The question is, what's next for Anglo-American? Will they sink or swim? And how will it affect the future we're building? That's all the time we have for today's deep dive into Anglo-American's grand experiment. But trust us, we'll be watching closely. And until next time, keep asking the big questions.